Marketer of the Day, episode 642, Lead Generation and Market Strategy, Direct Mail, Search Engine Optimization, and Pay-per-Click Advertising with Ryan Cote.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We're chatting with Ryan Cote, who is the Director of Digital Services and partner at Ballantine, which is a third-generation family-owned direct mail and digital marketing company in Fairfield, New Jersey. And so from lead generation to marketing strategy for small businesses, Ryan and his company rise above the get featured quick schemes so often attributed to digital marketing. And Ryan loves to geek out on technical marketing talk, as well as work with real-world business owners about growing their book of business in today's online world. So Ryan, glad to be talking to you.
Thanks, Robert. Likewise, happy to be here.
Yeah, so print marketing, digital marketing, what do you have to say about it?
Yeah, it's been my life for the last 15 years now. It's a family business, so it goes way beyond that. My great uncle started the company in the mid '60s. Obviously, we just started with print back then, and we added digital about 5 years ago. So now we do both print and digital. And by print, I mean direct mail marketing, like the stuff you get in your mailbox. So yeah, we love it.
Great. So is there any specific type of direct mail that you do the most of or like the most? Like, do you like the letters or the postcards, or what's your favorite?
So we do, so we're brokers. We're essentially print brokers, the middlemen between the plants and the customer. So we do all types of print. I guess in terms of what's most popular. So obviously we do a lot of postcards. Those are inexpensive for marketers to use. But they're also limiting. So we also do a lot of self-mailers, just so your audience knows. That would be more of like a multi-panel postcard. So something that folds out, opens up, and maybe it's like, you think of like 3 postcards kind of stitched together almost, not stitched, but like, laid out together. And we do a lot of nonprofits. So nonprofits typically are using like letter packages. So, they're called officially number 10 envelopes. So that's a letter that a package that you would open up. Inside would be a letter and a little slip and maybe some premiums like a bookmark or a packet of seeds. So we see a lot of type of stuff, but obviously the common formats are your postcards, your letter packages, and then maybe like a simple trifold self-mailer. That's the stuff that most marketers use most frequently.
All right, well, fun stuff. And so are these mailers used as cold blasts, or are they for like customer reactivation, or like what's usually the purpose behind these mailers?
Yeah, good question. I mean, it's both. I mean, it obviously depends on who we're speaking with. So if you're talking about a nonprofit, they'll do both cold acquisition, so they'll rent names of people that they want as donors, but that they aren't donors yet. But then, of course, they're going out to their previous donors to ask for more money. We work with a lot of travel companies, so it really is both, I guess, for any type of customer. So for travel, they're going out to a cold list, trying to get them to travel with them, but then they're also going to their customer base to get repeat customers, like come travel with us again on your cruise. So it's usually both cold acquisition and then repeat customers when it makes sense.
Okay, and so when you're dealing with like nonprofits, travel companies, postcards, self-mailers, cold acquisition, warm customers, and all this stuff, do you see any sorts of like do's and don'ts, or like are there things that you recommend that people do with their print marketing and things to stay away from?
Yeah, so things that come to mind here is, so when we're talking about direct mail, and this is really for digital too. It's you can't rely on like one hit wonders. It's the repeated mailings and the repeated touch points on digital that, because everyone's so busy nowadays and everyone's getting hit from every which way with marketing messages. So it's really hard to rely on just one mailing, for example, to get results. Of course, it could happen, but it's the repeated messages. So they're seeing your message in their mailbox every month or every 8 weeks or what have you. So we always trust the clients that if you're going to do a campaign, digital or print, you have to rely on the multiple touch points to get results. We also see a lot of so kind of touching upon what I just said about everyone being so busy and what have you, and requiring multiple touch points. We also see a lot of our clients really starting to try to stand out. And this is more of like our larger clients, like on the direct mail side, we work with some very large companies. And so they have the budgets to kind of experiment, but they're also in very competitive landscapes. So we see a lot of them starting to test really crazy formats. So we talk about postcards and self mailers, which are pretty standard. We have some clients that are testing like video mailers, where it's literally like a folder, like a small folder that when you open it up, a video plays. Obviously,
Wow.
those are very small volume campaigns. You're not sending out a lot because they're pretty expensive. But obviously, that's going to cut through the noise. A video mailer like that. Something a little bit more cost effective that still stands out is we're doing more and more like these clear see-through envelopes. I think they're called polypacks, if I remember correctly. But they're basically, it's an envelope that's see-through. It's clear. It's plastic. And so that just something you don't see every day, and it kind of creates curiosity because they can see what's inside, and you kind of have to open up to see more. Even though it's a marketing message. And so it's like things like that where we see our clients, our marketing clients, they're starting to get a little bit creative just to be different, because sometimes different, as you know, with marketing, sometimes different works because it's when you do more standard types of marketing campaigns, it sort of becomes noise, and so that's what we're seeing a lot of.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's always fun to see some of the things that stand out in just the junk mail that I get. If I see an envelope that's a weird size, or if it's a bright red color, or if it looks handwritten and I have to look at it really closely and I'm like, well, I think it's handwritten, but it might have been like something with like a special font or some kind of machine, or like getting the yellow letters, getting a letter that's written as if it was on a legal pad, and then when I like hold it up into the light, I can kind of tell like, okay, they printed like as if it was written with blue ink on one side, handwritten, and then on the back there's like a little bit of a bleed through as if it was a pen. And like, yeah, some of those things are kind of fun to look at, and fun to just to be like, oh, that's a good idea, or that's a fun way to stand out. And so I had no idea that video mailers were even a thing. So like, what are those sorts of things like?
Yeah, it's a small, and I want to go back to the handwritten part when I'm done with this point, because it's something interesting to share about that. But so remind me if you can. But the video mailers, usually they're small, so I think the ones we've done, they're like maybe 6 inches by 9 inches, if I remember correctly. And then you open it up, and it's a small little video, so it's got like an insert where the video screen's maybe like 2 inches by 3 inches, and and obviously there's a battery, so it has a life. It's not going to go forever. But they open it up, and the small little 2 by 3 inch screen is right there, and it once it recognizes that the video is that the folder has been opened, the video starts playing. And so we've had clients that use that for like, for example, I won't mention the name, but we work with a large cruise company, and they use that to promote this casino that they were opening on one of their cruise ships, and it was sent out to like their I guess their high end gamblers, and so trying to get them to come on to the cruise to see the new casino. And so those were high value customers for them, and so they spent the money on the video mailers. So that's typically how it works. It's not like a huge folder. It's a small little folder with a small little video.
Okay, but and eventually we'll have the technology good enough where when they open the envelope, it'll like send a cell signal and report back, and we can track that or something, right? But that's amazing that technology exists. And I mean, like you said, I'm sure it's not super cheap, but probably cheap enough where if you knew your cost per lead there, and you knew that they were a repeat customer, and they had a likelihood of going on that cruise and gambling and paying you a bunch of money, then it's worth spending that extra amount to have something that stands out. So pretty
Exactly.
cool. And then you said to remind you about the handwritten letter. You had some thoughts on that.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So yeah, sometimes it's fonts that are made to look like pen, but you can kind of see that it's not real ink. But there are also now machines that we use for some of like our nonprofit clients, for example. It's machines that uses an actual Bic pen. So the pen is sort of uploaded into this little arm, and the so it's a machine writing, but it's actually the machine's using an actual Bic pen. So it's really hard to, because it's actual ink. And you might notice some like consistencies where the A's are always the same, but then they add some varying shapes to the letters, so you can't really tell it's exactly. It looks like a real human is writing it. And then in some cases, we have clients where they want actual people writing the letters. So then those are more smaller campaigns where we have people that will actually write out messages on the envelope or in the letter. There's actual person writing it. So there's different ways. There's different levels of personalization you can get with handwritten fonts, from fonts that look like ink when they're not, to machines that are actually using a big pen, to then actual people writing out the messages for smaller campaigns.
Right, a plotter, right? Like there was a machine in the mall when I was a kid, and you could customize a greeting card, and then there was like a little bit of a glass window, and you can see in there, and there was this, like the arm would like pick up a marker and like scribble on your, it would like make your card right there in front of you with an actual marker, so you'd end up with that result of something that's quick, just push a button and it's done, but then it also looks personalized. And so, like, what, as you're describing all these different kinds of, possibilities, like the usual, like a postcard or self mailer, or to people writing things by hand, what size of orders do you people typically do? I mean, I know you said you have huge clients, but if people are listening, how do they know if they are big enough or intending to do a large enough order to be worth your guys' while?
Yeah, so in our case, and we tend to go on the bigger side. So like a typical mailing for us is 50,000 pieces of mail. And now, of course, if we have some of our large clients, they'll send out a few 100,000 pieces, but then they'll also have a small little campaign where we're doing 200 video mailers for them, or we're doing 5,000 postcards. But it's part of an overall larger annual program, and that's fine. But like, typical campaign for us is 50,000 plus. On the print side, we have very large clients, but on the digital side, we're working with more small businesses. But that said, there's printers out there that specialize in the small stuff. They have the presses, the printing presses that are a good fit for the smaller campaigns. So even if you're a small business and you want to get involved in like sending out like 5,000 postcards or 1,000 postcards, there's definitely a company out there that can help you. So don't shy away from direct mail if your volumes are small, because there's someone out there that can help you.
Awesome. Yeah, and like you said, there's all kinds of possibilities of having that whole entire sequence where you might do like the big blast, and then one go around you might do like something smaller with the video postcards. Like I have a client who has a lot of recurring members in a membership site, and he does like a monthly webinar, and he sends a postcard before and after it, like beforehand saying, hey, register for the webinar since you're in this monthly membership, and then after the webinar, if you missed it, then come back and get it. So yeah, lots of ways to mix things up there. And so as far as you saying that you do like these sequences, these campaigns, is there anything that you feel like sharing, like sort of interesting? Like, do you have fun doing like a once a month thing, or over the course of weeks, or like what's some of those multi-mailing campaigns sort of like?
Well, I think something that's interesting that might be new to your audience, but maybe not, is kind of bridging the gap between print and digital. So you can get if you have a mail file and you're getting, let's say it's a house file mailing, it's your customer list. You're typically going to have you're typically going to have addresses and your email addresses. And so basically what happens is you can create this multi-touch point integrated campaign where you're sending out emails to these people. You're also sending out mail pieces, whether it's a postcard or a self-mailer or a letter. And then you're also uploading the spreadsheet to Facebook or LinkedIn, and you're running ads to these people in their news feed. So, with the technology that we all have available to us now, we can essentially hit our list in their mailbox, in their inbox, and their social feeds. And maybe that's creating all the noise that I talked about before, but it's just what we have available to us as marketers now. So might as well take advantage of it, because you don't know where you're going to capture their attention. It might be in their mailbox because there's not as much competition in the mailbox, or it might be in their inbox because they tend to respond better to email, or maybe they're always on social media, and so you're going to get them you're going to get them in their social media feeds, and in some cases, you're getting them they're seeing your marketing message in their social feed, and maybe they don't even really recognize it. They sort of see it, but it's not really registering. But then they get your email or they get your postcard, and then the message connects with them. And so I think it's pretty exciting that we can reach people in all these different channels now with the technology that we have available to us.
Yeah, and just place an order, push a button, and it's everywhere. And that way, yeah. So that way, there's all the noise out there, and so now they see us in all these different places. And also keeping in mind that some people just prefer certain things, right? Some people prefer to see their ads on Facebook or in those postcards. And what you're making me think of is I talked to a guy once who had a call center, and he was really big on like the phone marketing. And what he pointed out was that with the phone stuff, that worked better for the older crowd, right? Because I mean, the young people these days, they don't want to answer their phone. They're afraid of reading a text message. They just want to see what it is on Facebook. So is there anything like that with the print mailing? Like, are there certain industries or certain demographics of customers where the print mailing works really well compared to everything else?
Well, I could just speak on, if I look at our client base, it's heavy in nonprofits. Nonprofits use a lot of direct mail. The typical donor is a little bit older, so they typically respond to mail. And though younger people respond to mail too, but it's typically older people that are donating, at least right now. And so nonprofits use a lot of direct mail. Plus, they need a mechanism to send the donation back. And then a lot of the nonprofits are trying to push that to online as well, especially to appeal to the younger audience, because that's their challenge right now, is to get younger people to donate. But then you still need a mechanism to send the donation back. So they have to use direct mail, because it has to be a package with a return envelope where they can send money back. So nonprofits is huge. Plus, with nonprofits, it's important to, you really can't use a postcard unless it's for a very specific, like just a reminder type of campaign, because you need to tell the story, the mission. Usually there's a premium involved. There's a sort of a story that has to go into the mail piece. So nonprofits for sure. Travel, absolutely, because typically it's brochures showing the cruises and the itinerary and all that. So definitely travel. We do Fair Mountain Finance. Those are the three main ones for us. I feel like I'm forgetting one. Associations, museums. I guess you kind of lump those under nonprofits. So those are the big ones for us.
Okay, great. Nonprofits, travel, finance, and associations. And then so I mean, I can tell that you have a lot of fun with this. You love what you do, and so you mentioned that you do the print stuff and the digital stuff. So like, what specifically with that digital marketing? Are we talking Facebook ads or SEO or something else?
Yeah. So for us, and that's a big part of what I'm involved with here at Ballantine. I could talk about the print because I've been in the family business for 15 years, but my day-to-day is digital. And so for us, we have in-house from search engine optimization to paid search, social content, email, web development. Those are our core offerings that we do every day. And what gets me excited is I love when we have a client that uses us for multiple channels, because we have different team members here that specialize in different things. So if I get a big kick out of when I see like the team collaborating, working together on a client, maybe the SEO team is sharing keyword ideas with the PPC team. The SEO team is sharing keyword ideas with the content team to come up with topics for blog content. So that's what I like about digital, because it's very collaborative. You kind of it's like a puzzle, putting all the different pieces together to get better results for clients. That's what I get a big kick out of. And that's what we do. That's what we do a lot of. We try to push like the the integrated approach where the team is working together, trying to put together the different channels to kind of elevate the overall results.
Awesome. And do you think that it's important to be on all these channels at once, or do you think that companies should focus on a handful at first, or like, what are your thoughts on that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. So obviously it's going to vary on a case by case basis. So there needs to be multiple touch points. So I think having multiple channels is important, but I also could argue that you need to have focus. So I would say I don't think you need to be everywhere. I think you need to be on social media but it doesn't need to be on every single network. You need to be on Google, either SEO or paid search. Ideally, both, because you want to cover both your bases. But obviously, it just depends on your budget. But what I would say is that every channel needs to be on the same page with the same goal. And if you're running a campaign, the same messaging and the same end goal. So I think every channel needs to be working together, but I don't think you need to be on every single thing. Obviously, if we all had endless budgets, then we can go crazy. But most typically we don't, especially with our typical client, which being a small business. So I think you need to use multiple channels. It just needs to be strategic and focused with an end goal in mind.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So yeah, have the focus be where you can be, but don't be spread so thin that everything points people everywhere else. Ideally, have it all working together to have that similar end goal. So with all your, they say your 15 years experience with the family business, with the print stuff, with the digital marketing stuff, are you seeing a number one mistake that business owners are making these days?
Number one mistake, I am still surprised, and this is not meant to be as an insult. If you're a business owner, you're not a marketer, so you don't know what you don't know. I'm still surprised at how many clients we get where the websites are not mobile responsive, and that the call to actions are very weak or they're missing altogether. That the website's poorly designed. And I think if you fast forward 5 years, that's going to all sort itself out, because I think we have on the digital side, we have some very random niches that we operate in, like a lot of manufacturing, industrial. It's really cool how many businesses are out there, like the types of businesses are out there, and even those like manufacturers of like rotary shaft seals, even they know that they need a good website. They need to be on digital. So I think if you fast forward 5 years, everyone's going to catch up and they're going to know the importance of that. But I think when you're going into digital marketing, the foundation is your website. It needs to be mobile responsive. It needs to load fast. It needs to look good. Doesn't need to be fancy, but it needs to look good, and needs to be well thought out in terms of call to actions. Like when someone lands on my website, what do I want them to do? Is it call me? Is it fill out a form? Is it opt into our newsletter? What message do I want to convey to them? That needs to be all really mapped out very well, because everything else you do is going to point to the website usually. And so that needs to be well thought out. So that's what I would say the number one mistake is just not doing that.
Yeah, having your bases covered. And those are all things that like you said, a lot of business owners just haven't quite caught up yet, and that's totally okay. I mean, you're making me think of 20 years ago, I had a family member who was trying to sell a house, and he was convinced that listing his house for sale on the internet was the way to go, and everyone thought it was silly, and it probably was at that time. But nowadays, if you were selling a house and you didn't have it online in some way, in some kind of directory, then you'd be crazy. And so yeah, just a matter of maybe some things are too soon for their time, and then all these other industries have to get caught up. So really good things for us to think about. Have that website that's mobile responsive, that has the call to action, that loads fast, that looks good, all things that we as marketers notice and keep in mind. But if someone eats, breathes, and sleeps manufacturing, maybe the website has been the lowest thing on their priorities, but now that it's the modern day and age, then we all need to get caught up. So if people liked what you had to share with us today, which was a lot of really great advice. I mean, I love that video mailer thing. It's good to know that that's out there. How can people take the next step with you and your company? How can they contact you, and what should they be checking out?
Yeah, I would say two things. Definitely connect me on LinkedIn, Ryan Cote, RyanCote, and then Ballantine. Connect me on LinkedIn, and then our website is ballantine.com. It's Ballantine, like the beer, but no relationship. And yeah, just definitely reach out and connect with me, and I'd love to speak to anyone that just wants to talk about their digital marketing, their print marketing, and just bounce around some ideas.
Fantastic. No harm in having that quick conversation. So Ryan Cote, Ballantine.com, connect with him on LinkedIn, and that web address, so that it's spelled out, is Ballantine.com. That's Ballantine.com. So we'll see you over there on the website, and we'll see you when you connect with Ryan over on LinkedIn. So thanks so much, Ryan, for stopping by and for sharing with us some really cool ideas about print and digital marketing.
Thanks for having me, Robert, and thanks everyone for listening.
Please subscribe, rate, and review our show at marketeroftheday.com/iTunes and like us on Facebook at marketeroftheday.com/Facebook.